A sad fact is that the Fate never have a chance here. Even if they won, they wouldn't gain our favor. Well, hey guys, you know, it seems so awful quiet now, I gotta say, without that slippery little character that used to hang around with you, I mean. Talks like this a lot, you know what I mean? Hope you found that honor thing he's always going on about. We don't got that in the stocks just now. Honor, yeah. Yeah, you don't have the honor, but have a Downberry. Must be our lucky day here. I don't know what, Dad. Yep. Falconer Honor is very happy about the Downberries. You and the others are busying yourself for the commencement of the rite this evening when you notice Xei behaving strangely, more than usual. Maybe he's here. I mean, I think he has to be somewhere nearby. She notices you then. Oh, I'm sorry, mister. I think maybe my friend is here. Oh, I forgot about this entirely. And I was hoping to say hi to him before we have to do the ceremony with the star ball. Wait, is that... That's him! That's him! My friend is here! He's here! Just then, your adversaries, the Fates, arrive on the other side of the cairn of Haub. They begin making necessary preparations. Xei rushes over to them before anyone can stop her, even as the stars above start shining through the darkness. Nine Titan stars. Shall we make them quick? Let us make them quick. Unfathomed Plurns. Because I don't... actually, you know what? Last cycle of the rites. Let it be Islak Astralborn.
Reader, the Commonwealth, your home. Today it is aflame. Much like a stack of books. Aflame because of you.
Thanks for the subscription.
Because of your outlandish plan. Not that you care. Not that you shall live to see this place again. Your attempts at revolution shan't succeed. Though by all means keep trying. As for myself, I shall enjoy presiding over these remaining rites.
Yep, even the voice knows that the revolution is upon us and upon them. Oh, hello again. Hello. Ah, that's too high. Why, hello indeed, young one. We are the Fates, and once again we hail you and all the Nightwings. Thanks. I was wondering, may I speak to your son? Why, I do not see why not, but let me see here. Almer! Almer! Where are you? Begging your pardon, young one, but my son is not always punctual, you see. Hold, I shall go and fetch him. Oh, okay. I mean my friend, I hope that he remembers me. Huh? You? But where's father? Father? Oh, hello again. Your father, he went looking for you. He, did you not see him? No, I did not see him. This had best not be some Nightwing's trick, or else I'll... Ah, there you are, Alma. Our cordial adversary wishes to salute you, I believe. Oh, that's right. I mean, here, this is my salute. I'm saluting you. It's nice to see you, and maybe may the scribes watch over you, okay? I want them to watch over us as well, but maybe just this time, or not just this time, but maybe some other times. Maybe they can watch over all of us, okay? The two of them stand and watch as Xay skips over to rejoin your group. An unusual sort, that one. She is. She's about your age? Father! You see? You see?
Go on, then.
It isn't so bad if Xay doesn't leave this place, for the Fates have no chance.
Zay. Volfred.
And now we get to pick what we have for Bertrude. Actually, at this point, the optimal choice is actually Flame Leech on Bertrude. I need to keep that in mind.
Bertrude. With that out of the way.
Our adversaries are another set of masks or limits to be brushed aside. Steel thyself, Oliver. Are you prepared to face our adversaries once again? Oh, yes, father. Let us prevail, here and now. Let us do so indeed, my son.
Now begin.
Oh yes, they are most definitely very cunning. Very cunning indeed. But maybe not cunning enough.
The flame is stricken down.
Ah, frick.
Begone, Bertrude. Beneath contempt. Someone there rose to the occasion.
Ah, frick. Ah, frick. Yeah, his luck is bad. His luck is horrible.
Foul.
What are you doing? Put your mask back on. We're in the middle of a rite. Well, I just wanted to say, I think that you're very brave. Is all, I think? Because I have encountered many triumvirs by now. I mean, we have the dissidents and the tempers and... What are you talking about? Get to the point! Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, my name is Xay. Wanted you to know, my name is Xay. So I know yours. I see. Then ready yourself, Xay. I shall not hold back.
Such a struggle it must be for poor old Dalbert and his witless son.
Islak needs to be turned off. Islak needs to be banned. Because, like, seriously, the game here is... The game here is just awful. Ah shit, I didn't even realize that Xay was getting back. Ah frick. Yeah, seriously, these guys react so fast. It's almost impossible to do anything.
The fires wane.
I mean, we got one in, but like that's about it. Oh frick! Yeah, that was just a failure of my part. Oh frick. Oh frick. Whoa, what? Like, I myself cannot figure out what is going on half the time.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, this is like ultra hard mode. Oh frick!
Oh, poor old Albert.
Ah, frick, couldn't even jump fast enough. Oh, yes! Oh, frick. Almost.
You poor thing.
Frick.
Now to the flame.
Yeah, these guys are oh so difficult. Ah, frick, they got so...
Oh,
Work right!
almost.
Almost, but not quite. This is a freaking exchange. This is taking forever. What now? Holy.
The orb.
Oh, I can't. Frick, I missed. Bloody missed. What happened there?
Well passed.
What? Ha!
Fear not the purified.
Okay, this is bad.
Bye now, Bertie. The orb's engulfed.
Whoa.
Spectacular.
Yeah, these guys are just they are
Positively brutish.
absolutely.
They did it. There.
Oh frick! Yeah, that's not. That's not how we want to play this fight at all.
Alas for Alma.
Ah, so close. Oh frick! Well,
Unacceptable. Yes.
oh, so close.
A bit of a blunder.
Oh no, 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 no. Even when they are on the defensive, it's a freaking battle to survive.
How comical.
Ah, frick.
Red-handed. No mercy shown. Absolution. There goes the orb. Oh, you poor Nightwing. The sacred miracle has kept the flames alive.
Yeah, I think granting the Fate one victory isn't such a bad thing.
By the scribes. Now end the ceremony.
Nope, 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 nope.
With you all.
Well, they get this one, but it was so close.
The fate prevailed.
Well,
A narrow victory, yet nonetheless commendable.
it was almost. I even had the tools to win that one, but this luck is just too much. Wait, I wish to say to you, congratulations on prevailing against us. Because some of us, I know, they're very strong. They're very, very strong. Why, young one, that is very generous of you. But you need not show such gestures to our humble group. You are the Nightwings, the most envied of all triumvirates. We aspire to your greatness and to your legacy. Father, please, no more of this. We prevailed. We need not grovel at their feet. Almer, is it Almer? I just had a question. Ask quickly, and then go on about your business. Oh, I just, would you be my friend?
Huh?
What? I was wondering if you would be my friend. Because I don't have a lot of friends, and you're brave and gentle with your father, so... I shall see you in a little while, my son. What? The scribes, were they not friends? I choose to think they brought us here to be closer together, not to be apart.
Boundless are the teachings of the scribes.
So they are, so they are.
I eagerly await our next such outing.
Islach needs to go. Islach needs to go. Oh, numberries. No one speaks further of the fate back at the Black Wagon. Everyone is instead preoccupied with the rite that is to come. Is it true then? That this is going to be our last chance to go home? I'm afraid so. Our plan is an imperfect one, yet here we are, faced with this vital opportunity. He looks over to you. Rita, my boy. Please, go see for yourself. I think we all know where we're headed next, and I suspect I know whom we shall face when we arrive. The others turn to you as well. You turn toward the wagon's door. You know what you shall see out there. Now, however, the time has come to face it. Numberries though! The dim and fading light of the final star still pierces through the darkness, demanding your attention, guiding you toward the end point of your path. You see plain the golden star of Solium. Look upon it for the last. %83% probability, and as you can see, everyone has been thusly eliminated. The Pyre Hearts no longer have any real chance at freedom before the rites are ended. None of them shall go free. Solium the Golden Star. We shall challenge the true Nightwings. You are summoned to the Fall of Solium for your 7th and final liberation rite. Thus shall the cycle of the rites be ended for an age. You sense that if the rites ever shall commence again, it shall not be during your lifetime, or that of any of your companions, even the longest lived ones. The stars reveal to you one thing more. The adversary whom you shall face shall be Orlek. Already he has crossed Scribe's Gate and awaits your arrival. If the 8 scribes created the Nightwings in their own likeness, then perhaps it is only fitting that the Nightwings should, in the end, be forced to face themselves. Orlek, curse this damnable cycle, that it must pit us against him in this, our final chance. Let us retire for the night. We shall not have many chances more for rest before our journey's ended. The group disperses as exhaustion sets in. At dawn, you fly to Mount Olodial to make a final effort to achieve your plan and get somebody home. But who? Look, Say. Say seems very happy about something and has been chanting softly to herself. On closer inspection, however, she seems to be engaged in conversation with the wagon wall. And so, after the rite, I think he said to me, farewell. Can you believe it, little brother? He said that. Then he left to go find Mr. Dalbert, who went on ahead. And so, I think that maybe we are friends now. Don't you think so too? We have a lot in common, don't we? Friends are supposed to have a lot in common, right? For instance, we're both fighting for those we care about, for those who helped us when we needed it. Is that not so? He's very lucky to have met Mr. Dalbert, isn't he? She falls silent for a time. Then, it cannot be that the 8 scribes intended that all of us just have to fight each other all the time. It just cannot be. So many whom we face, they don't like us very much, do they? Because if we prevail against them, it must mean that they cannot go home, even if they really want to. So that's why they don't like us. Back home, when they told me to stop being me, I didn't like them either. You want to know what I think, little brother? I think the scribes put us together in all of this, so that we can learn from one another and grow closer together as friends. That is what I think, little brother, and I told them so. Maybe next time I see Almar and Mr. Dalbert again, they will be happier to see me then. She bounds off, noticing you as she goes. Hi, mister. You sense some burden has been lifted from her, and her knowledge of the rites, however informal it may be, has crystallized into a deeper understanding. +1 hope, permanently. Let us wish her farewell. Not farewell. She is not going free. Sorry. Let us wish her well, rather.
Foolish reader.
Huh. Really?
Your so-called friends. You are accomplice to their hateful plot.
Sherlock.
They are exploiting you. You shall never have your freedom.
I know, I read it in the book. By dawn, you are already up and about. After a troubled slumber, the Black Wagon is prepared for its final voyage to the Fall of Solium. No one speaks. As he lifts into the skies, the lone minstrel raises his voice, cutting through the somber moon. Rita, a certain olden ballad comes to mind just now. I think it may befit the circumstance. Perhaps it may help to pass the time along our flight. Would you mind it very much if I were to play this song for the Nightwings? By all means. By all means. You urge the lone minstrel to play his ballad so that all among you might hear it. Means without another word.
When the stars align, the rights shall come to bear. Illuminate the signs, the exiles shall be there. All are not the same, but three shall be as one. Freedom in flame, the end has just begun. Strength may break our own, but twisted make a great. Together on their own, the journey shall be made. The journey shall be made.
You touch down amid the narrow passageways of Mount Alodiel to make pilgrimage to the summit for one last time. There, one last liberation rite shall soon commence. There, one last exile shall regain his or her freedom. All others shall remain to carry out their sentences here in the downside for the remainder of their lives. And in the Commonwealth, the plan of which you are a part shall either come to fruition or shall be suppressed. Also, one thing we need to do first is we need to get these optimized. The Flame Leech is significantly more powerful when in the hands of the crone. Also, well, actually, it doesn't really matter. I'm thinking maybe like Bertrude is fairly unlikely to make it to the Pyre unless she's helped along. But I guess Flame Leech is still the way to go. As much as possible, that is. After having landed, you join Xei on an expedition to the monuments of Molten Melith, for what is likely to be the final time. Glory to the 8 scribes, for you have chosen me to be a witness to the ending of the cycle of the rites. We have followed your path, and in your path, and now we have followed on your path and in your path, and now we have arrived upon the site at which the cycle first began. Always have we done our utmost to honor you, and honor the traditions you described within the sacred book. For one day I should like to read myself. Which one day I should like to... Yep. Whatever shall transpire in the coming nights, it is your will, and I shall accept it, even as I strive with all my heart for all my friends. Soon she is finished. Return to the wagon in silence, feeling as though Molten Melith has shown you favor. At dawn, you shall begin your last ascent. For now, your vocations may occupy what little time you have to spare. Obviously, we're going to have to mentor Bertrude to get the most out of this. Let us then discuss these matters which you believe should be of benefit. You find a remote spot where you and Bertrude can discuss any of her misgivings or fears about your journey or your fellow exiles. The conversation gives perspective and relief. This land so rife with eldritch knowledge, long forbidden in the Commonwealth, we can learn the stuff of fear itself. Yeah, let's stubborn flame. We shall be stubborn. Fear is a commodity to be extracted and exchanged. Thine we shall keep safe with us. And onwards to Scribe's Gate. Ah, there we go. Deep in the old masonry of Mount Olodiel, you find a messenger imp looking to bring you the latest news and rumors from the other side. This time around, the imp brings tidings of Sir Gilman and what happened to him since his liberation at the fall of Solium, when at last his self-imposed exile came to an end. You learn that his return to the Commonwealth was met with much rejoicing, and that before long he was promoted to the rank of Veiled Captain on the Blood Border. And yet, with tears welling in his eyes, he did refuse the post, stating that he no longer had the heart to fight against the Hiving Remnants as he once did. He then cast down his helmet, and when next anyone saw him, he was among Wolfred's agents, having joined the revolution to reshape the Commonwealth from within. You thanked the messenger imp for the report and saluted crisply, as surely Sir Gilman would have. Soon, the news has everyone in the wagon talking. Noble Gilman made the gallant choice, it seems. Our plan comes closer to fruition through his good example and support. The tears he shed ought to have been bottled and thus set aside for use in various salves. Do you think that maybe one day I can be as brave as him? Because I don't always think I can. The news of Gilman's liberation fills you and your fellow exiles with newfound resolve. Let us wish Sir Gilman good fortune. You stand before the Scribe's Gate with your companions. The gate guardian is there, as ever, but you sense something different in her. The exiles of the Nightwings. We shall not meet again after the coming rite. Tari and I... It shall be time we take our rest, I think. Greetings, Celeste. I would tell you that the Nightwings are prepared, though this time I'm uncertain anyone amongst us feels thus. We have a duty to uphold, Tarek. And then what, Celeste? And then nothing. Not for the rights or us. Not till the dawn of a new age. Now, Nightwings, step forward. Please state your names and what it is that you seek whilst crossing Scribe's Gate. One by one, your fellow exiles approach her, now with sureness in their step. We are called Bertrude. We seek to fulfill the plan of Sandalwood, for we are fond of him and his beliefs, and then go about our business. My name is Wolfred Sandalwood. I long as yet to see a new age, where freedom is once birthright, and no longer are good people, such as these, forced to contend for it. Oh, my name is Xei, and I'm here because the scribes. This is the path that they have shown me, all of us. I like it when they call to me. Finally you step forth once more, you, a crippled scholar who vowed to help his friends to be free again, and who managed to come this far with this group. Tarek and Celeste are... well, we shall see. The gate guardian observes you for a moment, then motions past the archway toward the summit. The 8 scribes bid the Nightwings welcome. Go forth with glory. Except for you, Tarek. You stay right there. I thought you said... The rites are not ended, Tarek. He looks to her, and then over to the rest of you. Pardon me, everyone. I shall be there when the stars align. The Gate Guardian and the Lone Minstrel remain together as the rest of you depart. You have gained the summit of Mount Alodiel for the 7th time, the final time in which any one of you shall have a chance to leave the downside. Let us sell... Hey guys, I guess you probably heard the big news, huh? Yeah, I'm going out of business here, I guess. Just hasn't been the same, you know? What with the stars all fading out and stuff. Anyway, just wanted to say, you guys are great. Like, sure I'm gonna miss having you guys as customers and all that. But I got some good news though, too. All my stuff, it's all on sale now. And I will throw a little extra there, just for you, okay? So, enjoy. And maybe I'll be seeing you guys around, okay? Henceforth, all of Falconron's goods are 5% off. Great. have a downberry. Have a downberry. So big see you guys. Commence the final liberation. You have gained the summit of Mount Alodiel for the 7th time. Very few stars remain above to light your way as you await commencement of the final liberation rite. The Lone Minstrel finds you clutching the Book of Rites, seeking there, perhaps, some bit of wisdom that has eluded you thus far. Rita, we may not have a chance to speak again after this. I may have to go. I wish to say that I am grateful for having made your acquaintance, and I shall remember you with fondness. I wish you well, this night and always. Go forth with glory. Then he looks up, and he extends his hand in friendship. You clasp it. You see Bertrude has joined you. All of your companions are there with her, in fact. Reading one, thou art both wiser and less irritating than most others of thy kind. We have learned something from thee, and we are grateful. It is strange for me to say, given the circumstance of our meeting, Rita, but it has truly been a pleasure. Onward now, let us achieve our plan. Oh, hi, mister. The others, they said they wanted me to join them and come talk to you, so here I am. The scribes are watching us. You look upon your fellow exiles, your companions, with whom you have withstood the downside, and with whom you shall now conduct this final rite. Begging your pardon, but my time has come. We shall see each other soon. He departs. After this night, the outcome of Wolfred's plan, the plan of which you all have been a part, shall be decided, one way or another. For now, all you can do is strive to prevail against your final adversaries, so that one last companion may go free. You rise to join your fellow exiles as the last remaining stars ignite. The final liberation rite of this age shall now commence. We have to keep going. until we are free. Okay, it's likely you are not going to come. I think Sylvia's might be the fairest at this point.
Sylvia's horse-headed.
Archbeast Sangrease is going to cause a problem. And although I would not like to throw away my chance of actually, you know, taking advantage of them missing a person, sadly, I will have to pick something. And I don't want it to be Islak, I don't want it to be Unfathomed Plurns. And I don't want it to be Grease. So, at least 9 titans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. Yes. Having come this far, you need but to take final steps upon your quest for our freedom.
Look, for one last time, upon the fall of Solium, dear reader. Hear me for one last time. For soon, the few remaining stars shall fade away, leaving you stranded there for your remaining days in that forsaken land where you deserve to be.
We shall see.
The rabble that you roused here in the Commonwealth shall be put down. The exiles whom you liberated, all shall fall in line. But first, let us get on with this last liberation rite. You face none other than yourselves. Each so unlike the glorious Nightwings of yore. 'Tis a shame that one of you shall soon be free, for you deserve each other.
The pyres burn, and each of the triumvirates is present and prepared. But before the lone minstrel can concur, as per the custom, not another word. The demon Orlex slowly raises his clawed fingers to his mask. The false Nightwings have arrived, at last. Long have I waited this. My freedom once was stolen from me. Then I was cheated of it here, upon this mountain top. You may now attempt to take it from me once more. He stands there for a moment, silent. Then, Orlek dons his mask and stands prepared. May these damned rites cease forever, for the misery which they caused. Nightwings, we shall not meet again after tonight, for the cycle of the rites is all but ended. Thus, I would have your decision. On whose behalf shall you conduct this final liberation rite? The one whom you anoint, or else the exile Orlek shall be returned. Godspeed, Rita. You know what is at stake better than I. I have utmost faith in you to make the best decision and conduct this rite with glory. Nightwings, the star's remaining light grows dim. Your decision, please. It is time now to choose who, if anyone among you, shall go free this one last time. The rest of you shall remain in the downside to the end of your days. One by one, you meet the gazes of each of your fellow exiles. Xay, Wolfred, Bertrude. Your fellow exiles, your companions, your friends. Together you have come this far, And now, the downside and the rights conspire to tear your group apart and disrupt your plan. Are you prepared to choose this one last time? Yes. There is no turning back. With but a glance, you reassure your fellow exiles that you know what to do.
One final opportunity for salvation. Too bad for the rest of you.
You can have your laugh, but mine shall be the last one.
Volfred.
Long have I dreamed that I might someday see this plan of ours come to fruition. I promise you that I shall make the most of it if we are to prevail. Your choice is cast. As for your other companions, you sense a clarity of thought and purpose in each of them. They stand ready to support Wolfred as well as you.
Who shall strive for him?
Saying,
Say,
blessed are the scribes who grant to me and to all of us this final chance, that we might free our dear friend Wolfred.
Bertrude.
Thy will is ours, reading one. Let the remaining stars shed their last light upon our ceremony here.
Predictably decided.
Those ought to be my adversaries then. And who is it, I wonder, who asserts his will over that group? Since Orlek searching for you, almost reaching out to you. You, the shadow of the false Nightwings. They are nothing to me, but you, who would relinquish your own liberty for the sake of them? Strange. It is fitting then that I should have to face one such as you. Then Orlek stands at the ready, signaling for his two allies to do the same. By the light of the dawn, the cycle of the rites shall cease. Let us see if we can finish this ordeal before that time. The sky above begins to shudder. The final liberation rite is about to commence. Tarek. I'm prepared, Celeste. Then, let our song this evening shake the stars themselves. Hi, Celeste. Let us make sure of it.
Begin. The final chance at liberation for the age.
You were the Raymans once again. I could not simply stand by and do nothing, or yet that is what you did. Last we stood together on this blasted mountain, I fell. You simply stood. Orlek, what shall it take for you to be convinced I took no part in your betrayal? Orlek seems to consider the question, but only for a moment. Give me my damn freedom, let me prevail here now. Would you promise to uphold our plan to bring about a better Commonwealth? No, I make no promises. I owe you nothing. Then I am sorry, Orlek. My love of country comes before all else. More than your freedom and our friendship is at stake. Your love be damned, Wolfred. Let us stand as adversaries then. Oh, frick. Ah, frick. They're very strong. Dies, the sky rains ash. Soon shall your pyre's own mingle with them. Just then the skies above begin to rain down fire. The final throes of the cycle of the rites, and the ending of an age.
There goes old Bertrude.
Oh, frick.
Beneath contempt. A decisive blow.
Oh, if you shall rot here. You shall rot as I have all these many years. You false nightwings, who deny me once again my rightful liberty. You who deny that liberty to all of the triumvirates you face and vanquish under the guise of the traditions of those blasted scribes. Come, let us continue this glorious affair.
How he has changed, that warlock. Grown old and bitter, lo, these many years. I'm fine. The orb is loose.
Ah, frick, almost.
That's it.
Ah, frick, they are so freaking skilled at this. Ah, frick.
Oh dear. I never. Glorious.
Ah, frick. Ah, no.
The orb sails forth into the flame.
At least we got something back. For Pyre's flames now threaten to die out at any moment. Orlek makes a sound like Lothsa says nothing as he prepares one last assault against your side. Ha!
Onward thus to greater glory. Say, plunge into the fire. Now then. Tough luck, Nightwings. Oh!
Ah, frick.
How's that for that one there? The dying flames survive. Come on, I say. And there it is, at last.
Well, we tried our best.
The true Nightwings proved their worth. As for the Nightwings, they most certainly did not. Thus ends the Liberation Rite. And thus, the scribes have chosen
Wilfred hangs his head. Orlek appears, his head bowed. For someone who has triumphed, we sense no pride in him. He posed a reasonable threat. Now, farewell. We look upon Orlek for what you expect shall be the last time. Any moment now, the Shimmer Pool shall engulf him. Any moment now, he shall regain his freedom and return unto a commonwealth he has not seen in half a lifetime. Any moment now, the cycle of the rites shall end, until at least the dawn of a new age. Any moment now.
And thus the scribes have chosen. And thus the scribes have chosen. And thus the scribes have chosen. No. Nightwings. Reader, what have you done?
Nothing happens. Soon, Orlek tenses up. Each prior time upon the fall of Solium, the Shimmer Pool has opened, following the liberation rites, and taken in whichever exile prevailed. And now, all is still, and the light of the stars above has all but died. You sense a growing fear that it is already too late. The Shimmer Pool shall not reveal itself again. Orlek laughs to himself. The 8 scribes saved their greatest treachery for last. And then something else catches his notice. Wait. A sudden rush of starlight cascades through the stillness of the summit. The Shimmer Pool has appeared again, different somehow, but open. Orlek looks upon it, but it does not engulf him, or at least, not yet. It seems I was mistaken then. The 8 scribes is not their greatest treachery, it's their greatest jest. The Shimmer Pool is flung wide open. It seems that we're all worthy now of freedom. Just then, Wilfred appears. What are you saying, Orlek? That we can all return? Wilfred moves closer to the Shimmer Pool, but... Halt, Wilfred. It is a warning. Wilfred recognizes it as such and heeds it. The Shimmer Pool has lost most of its strength. You step inside, and you shall surely perish in the current. Of that, I can assure you. Orlek shakes his head. Then, I'm cheated once again. No, the Shimmer Pool is revealed, and one of you may still return as planned. But Orlek, as the victor of the liberation rite that ends an age, the choice of who is to return is no longer decided, but is yours. Having to choose from those anointed ere the last light of the stars is extinguished, and the rites draw to an end. This is the final trial of the scribes. The final trial of the scribes? All that remains then is for me to choose myself. Is that what you're saying? If that is to be your choice, then yes. How is this even a choice? What reason would I have to... Orlek, make your decision quickly, lest it shall be forfeit. I do not know for how much longer the light of the stars shall offer you this gift. Why do I hesitate? To have come this far, to have regained what ought have already been mine all those years ago. Why now would I hesitate to claim my right? The final trial of the scribes. Let him work it out. We shall not affect his choice. The decision to be made here belongs only to Orlek. He prevailed in the final liberation rite, and it is only fitting that he, at last, decide. I've come here to reclaim what is mine by right. I choose my freedom. Since his mind is set, in this same instant, it feels to you as though he is set free. Then, it is done. Orlek stands very still, though his features seem to soften just a little, and then, he is gone. Orlek regained his freedom. Accept this, for it is done.
Godspeed, Orlek. By the scribes. No stars remain aloft. The cycle of the rites. It is finished. The Commonwealth. What shall become of it? What shall become of us? Nightwings. The opportunity to gain your freedom from the downside. Was it not enough?
That night, the exile Orlek returned to the Commonwealth. He was to be the last. The stars had faded, and the cycle of the rites had run its course. He found the Commonwealth in great upheaval. Spurred by the efforts of 6 liberated exiles, Wilfred Sandalwood's revolutionary plan had incited the masses. These exiles, and the starless sky, portended the return of the scribes. The people surged into the streets, shoulder to shoulder. Led by the 6 exiles, their voices shook the heavens. The leadership of the Commonwealth panicked. No blood was shed that night, and by dawn it was over. The leaders of the Commonwealth had cast themselves back into exile, or joined in this new cause. Thus, in its 838th year, the Commonwealth had fallen. The new Saurian Union declared its sovereignty in the next year. Among the changes its elected leaders ushered in, they vowed never to cast their people into exile, and they abolished the old Commonwealth decree forbidding literacy. Today, we still remember all of this. And we remember the exiles of the downside whose deeds led to the dawning of our age, whether they returned or not. And now, we get to figure out what happened to each and every person. And so you asked what happened to Falcon Ron. Well, let us find out. With the rights drawn to a close, the slug market's revenues fell precipitously, and Falcon Ron was forced to liquidate his assets and close up shop. Yet, as it is sometimes the case with those of an entrepreneurial leaning, this time of hardship led to an epiphany, or at least a sudden change of fortune. One day Falcon Ron had a run-in with a messenger imp bearing news from the other side. Ron gave it to one of his remaining trinkets, which could not be sold. The following week, the messenger imp returned to him bearing a tidy sum of wealth in newly minted coinage from the Saurian Union. Falcon Run cut a long-term deal with the messenger imp, then and there. Though his trade remained a grey area from a legal standpoint in the Saurian Union, the newfound fame in the downside caused Falcon Run's goods to explode in popularity. He later signed an elaborate agreement with Big Protrudes, and found a distribution partner on the other side through Rookie Greentail, whose own business had expanded. Especially in the Saurian Union, Falcon Run's goods are still known for their superior quality, though he assumes no liability for any side effects. Then we have Wolfred. When the cycle of the rites ceased turning, Wolfred Sandalwood turned toward the starless sky and closed his eyes and prayed. It was all he could do at that stage of his plan. He aspired to assemble with liberated exiles representing each of the 8 largest ethnic groups composing the population of the Commonwealth. They would stand together as a vision of the 8 scribes returned, as inspiring the masses to embrace an older set of values from before the Commonwealth had tightened its grip. With the rites ending sooner than expected, this ideal scenario became impossible. Sandalwood's own freedom, for instance, was now forfeit, yet the plan did have contingencies. Fortunately, most of those contingencies did not prove necessary. Word reached him that on the night of Scribe's return, his fellow liberated Nightwings stood together, and their voices echoed throughout the streets. These former exiles, who ought to have disappeared into the ranks of the Commonwealth's own leadership, now stood united with its people, who poured from their homes in solidarity. It was imperative to Sandalwood that this stand against the Commonwealth be peaceful in its nature. An overwhelming show of popular support would be more than enough. Ensuring this was his priority, and in the end, the result was self-evident. The plan's goal had been achieved. Sandalwood kept busy after that, as much as possible, providing counsel from afar to those who would be at the forefront of the birth of the Saurian Union. Of course, being stranded in the downside meant that there was only so much he could do. Resting assured that the fortune of the nation was in capable hands, he turned his attention to the remaining exiles of the downside. They might never return to that new nation, but at least they could experience its triumphs and its struggles in some vicarious way. So, he took to his old work, writing and printing. As literacy began to spread again throughout the Saurian Union, so too did exiles of the downside take to it. For his part, Sandalwood helped teach as many as he could. More than that, he provided the material to read a semi-annual report about the latest events both in the Saurian Union and the downside. This periodical gave many exiles something to look forward to. He welcomed the company of the leader of the Nightwings at every opportunity and counted him a trusted friend and a keen editor. He was pleased to hear that his one-time friend Orlek had once more become a productive part of his society, yet he spoke little of their time together. As Wolfred Sandalwood gained more fame throughout this land for all his sacrifices and his contributions, it is said that he remained steadfast about 2 things. The first was that the cause itself ought to remain in focus. The freedom that the people had achieved, it was a gift to be cherished, a set of values that needed to be nurtured. The second point he made was that he himself had little to do with the outcome. He would often praise the exiles of the Nightwings who had stood with him, each in turn, by name. He never forgot any of them. One day, to commemorate his birthday, the people of the Saurian Union unveiled a monument depicting him and the Nightwings as imagined in their prime. While Sandalwood did not learn of it until much later, it is said that he was moved to tears then by the gesture. It has since ensured that those of us with memories more fallible than that of Sandalwood, likewise remember the achievement of his fellow former exiles and our cause. You want Orlek next? I do take a recommendation, so let us find Orlek. In the aftermath of the final liberation rite, Orlek at last returned to his nation, one he had not seen in nearly 2 decades. His guards recognized it. After all, it was in the midst of transformation, a social and cultural upheaval sparked by Wilfred Sandalwood's plan. When Orlek witnessed the people of the Commonwealth standing shoulder to shoulder and chanting together on the night of the scribe's return, he looked on in silence for a time. Then he stepped toward the crowd. A murmur and hush moved throughout the gathered citizens at the sight of him, for they had never seen someone thus changed by the downside. But then Orlek raised his voice with theirs, and they all stood united once again. History would know him as the Demon Doctor, a term of endearment that stuck even after his horns started to recede. He lent his skill and service throughout the birth of the Saurian Union. Having witnessed the aftermath of Sandalwood's plan, Orlek understood at last what his former companion wanted. Years ago, they conceived a version of his plan. Now, Orlek found he wished Sandalwood could be present to witness the reality of it. Orlek later reunited with Tizo, who took residence with him, in some ways similar to how they lived in olden times. The imp always enjoyed his company. Alone with his thoughts, Orlek would sometimes visit the memorial of the fallen leaders of the Commonwealth. Though other than such appearances, and notwithstanding his duties as Master Physician of the state, Orlek led a very private life. Few would have guessed that he once was one of the most accomplished rite conductors in the history of the Nightwings. History, of course, shall ensure we shall not forget. So whom shall we check next? I might ignore the rival triumvirates to an extent so that we can speed up the process. Do we go for Tizo next? Because Tizo was mentioned. Let's see what Tizo has to say. Well, rather what is said about Tizo. The imp called Tizo was the first of his kind to achieve liberty through the rites. While he was not the only imp trained in the ways of the scribes, imps are native to the downside and thus care not for traveling abroad. This made them useful to triumvirates. Yet Tizo had a different calling, and the Nightwings believed that he too could play a key part in Wilfred Sandalwood's plan. During the night of the scribe's return, he stood out to the populace as something of a miracle. They had only heard of downside imps before, from legends of the Haub the Swallow. Afterwards, he became something of an icon, representing both the fall of the Commonwealth and the beginning of a new era. Wilfred Sandalwood would sometimes send him little gifts, all the way from the downside. Despite the insurmountable distance between them, their friendship proved more than resilient. Tizo often missed his interactions with the reader of the Nightwings. They had quickly built quite a rapport in the downside. He and Orlek reconciled as well. Orlek offered him free roam and board, and that was that. Tizo liked riding on his shoulders. And Tizo would often express wistful gratitude for all his time conducting the rites alongside the Nightwings, who made such sacrifices for him. Other than that, Tizo was diligent about his role as something of a living artifact, and helped interpret the messenger imps that relayed news to and from the downside. Despite having gained significant celebrity, he never let it go to his head. Although he did take full advantage of his access to the Saurian Union's fishing industry. Jodariel, then? Certainly. After her liberation, Jodariel soon became an icon of the movement that led to the collapse of the Commonwealth and the rise of the Saurian Union. Her horns and stern countenance inspired the people to believe that she was Solia Myr reborn. She became a great if reluctant leader. In the uncertain times that followed, Jodariel's seasoned expertise often came into play both in the matters of security and of state. For instance, she conscripted and trained a team of volunteers in public safety. The community did not know what to make of such a cordial bunch at first, but soon came to value their service. They have stood for the people ever since, and we celebrate their founding day each year. Gilman and Rookie next, certainly. She remained close with Hedwyn all through his experience, and they supported each other through their struggles many times. She often had to stop herself from fearing for Xei, whom she had tried to look after as much as possible in the downside. Soon, she would reassure herself that Xei was very capable of surviving on her own, and in fact, she was not mistaken. She continued training on her own, a regimen that grew stricter with each passing year. There were those who sought to train with her, and she sometimes obliged. There remained one other constant in her life. She would always remember her days among the Nightwings, and with fondness for the most part. Gilman, then. When the Worm Knight Gilman returned to the Commonwealth, he believed that he had regained something even more important than his freedom: his honor. Gilman relinquished his knighthood and declined an opportunity to serve as captain on the Blood Border. He was not interested in fighting any longer. Yet, as is sometimes the case with those such as he, a circumstance soon came about in which there came a need for him to once again make use of his military training. Thankfully, however, the scribe's return ended peaceably. Gilman was on the edge throughout that night, expecting violence to erupt at any moment, but the moment never came. When the matter was at last put to rest, then Gilman truly knew his time as a knight had ended. He declared to all those in earshot that he would never fight again. Unless, of course, there arose some other extraordinary set of circumstances again requiring him to fight, but he certainly hoped not. He still trained regularly, just in case, especially with his fleet-footed friend, Rookie Greentail. He was always grateful for having studied under the reader of the Nightwings, without whom he would never have completed his penance. Because of this, and perhaps because they were on the opposite sides of the world now, Gilman dedicated his life to him. By that point, he had long forgotten about his days under the leadership of Sir Deluge, his former commander. Breaking free of his abusive leadership was his first step towards gaining a little bit of self-respect. Gilman never did return to his homeland of the Sea Dominion, and was content to lead a monastic life on a small residence in the hills. It was just high up enough to make him keep striving to conquer his fear of heights. Other than that, an intense daily training regimen and the occasional visit from an old companion was more than enough to keep him optimistic and engaged. He knew then that honor was not something to be won, but a contract with oneself to be renewed each day. After Rookie Greentail earned back his freedom, he returned to a lavish welcome ceremony in the Commonwealth, as was the tendency for liberated exiles. It was everything he could have hoped for, and soon he was well off, surrounded by luxury, and choosing between various exciting opportunities. However, he must have given in to his better judgment, as he did end up siding with Wilfred Sandalwood's revolutionary forces as he promised. On the night of the scribe's return, Greentail was there with the others, inspiring the masses. He never looked prouder, the very image of Jomer Manymane himself. When dawn finally came, and it became clear that the Commonwealth that everybody knew would be no more, that makes sense, he realized many new opportunities awaited. he began quite a lucrative career for himself, manufacturing and selling replica merchandise inspired by the downside. His main struggle was to meet demand. An aspect of his conscience cautioned him against making light of such a thing, but the money was too good, and soon his family was well off, as he always said. One of his orders of business was to seek out one of his old companions, Pamitha Thane, to whom he took a liking during the quest for freedom. They bonded further over love of drink and supported one another through uncertain times that lay in store. He also kept in close touch with Gilman, ever the perfect practice partner. They would train together often, taking care to stay in tip-top shape as much as possible throughout the years. Greentail always did his best to keep in touch with all his many friends, and knew that he owed his fortunes to them. He made a special point of staying close with the group of friends he came to know so well during his time with the Nightwings, wherever they were. They shared a special understanding that put even Greentail at a loss for words sometimes. Then you wanted to hear about Xei. Long after the rites had ended, Xei admitted that she knew well before the fact that she would not be going home again. At least, she had a very strong feeling. She ended up not minding very much, because she had little to return to in the Commonwealth. Her sense of home had changed. She took to wandering from one celestial landmark to the next, ever paying homage to the 8 scribes, who she believed had influenced all that had transpired. She was no stranger to traveling alone, but was always happy to have company. Through it all, she would wonder how her little friend Tizo had fared. While they were divided now by a great distance, he always remained in her heart. Though they could not see each other any longer, Xei often thought about Jodariel and spoke to her as though she were there. Xei tried never to make a decision without first consulting her idea of what Miss Jodariel might say. Whenever she felt genuine doubt, which was not very often, he sought out the reader of the Nightwings. If there was anyone whom she trusted as much as the scribes, it was him. One day, she encountered one of her former adversaries, one called Ulmer Oldheart, who had served the Fate. She remembered him much more than he did her, though only just at first. Their shared experience in the rites and their different points of view about the scribes formed the basis of what grew to be a long-lasting relationship. Xei always was devoted to her faith, but more so to her friends. Her gentle manner and unwavering conviction often helped them brave life in the downside, both with courage and with grace. Who's next? While I crack open the second to last can of cola. Pamitha you want? Well, Pamitha you shall receive. After regaining her freedom, Pamitha Thane found herself in a difficult position. Having once betrayed her people of the Hiving Remnants, she knew that she would not be welcome in her native home. She did not trust the Commonwealth either. Instead, she found her place among Wilfred Sandalwood's agents, who were busy doing their part to fulfill the plan. As it turned out, the plan was a success. Pamitha Thane stood shoulder to shoulder with her other fellow former exiles, and truly, they were a sight to behold. A disturbing rumor later spread that night the Hiving Remnants were slated to mount an assault, which for some reason never came to pass. Pamitha denied any knowledge or involvement. Afterward, Pamitha played an active part in negotiating terms between the Hiving Remnants and the new nation that would become our Saurian Union. Her previous attempt at something of the sort led to her exile. She must have felt some satisfaction to succeed this time around. Sometime later, Pamita had an unexpected run-in with Rookie Greentail, with whom she had spent a fair amount of time while traveling with the Nightwings. Under this new set of circumstances, it turned out two had more to talk about, rather more in common. They would often put to test which one was able to outdrink the other. It is unclear as to which one of them prevailed in that contest in the end. One day, Pamita received an invitation to return to the Highwing Remnants, where she was to be fully pardoned. She held out a hope that she might see her blood sister Tamitha there, knowing full well that Tamitha did not regain her freedom. Tamitha did later learn that Pamita was welcomed back by her people. However, she never responded to her blood sister's attempts to contact her. Pamita in turn did not expect forgiveness from her at any point. Nonetheless, she kept on trying to reach out, she said, to ruffle up her feathers just a bit. Later, when asked, Pamita then admitted she felt as though she had no home to call her own. This was during an interview conducted amid an extensive trip abroad, for she had traveled thousands of leagues beyond the bounds of the Saurian Union. Pamita continued to journey thus, citing that it reminded her of when she was younger and could fly unfettered. Let us see what happened to the minstrels, or rather, the gatekeeper and the minstrel. After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, the lone minstrel bade the remaining Nightwings take the black wagon. This one is difficult. Take the black wagons and seek their fortunes somewhere else, well, elsewhere in the downside. Their parting was heartfelt but brief. He remained there at the summit of Mount Alodial with Celeste, where the two of them would chronicle the final outcome of the cycle. Neither Tariq nor Celeste were ever seen again. We all know this now, though, through song attributed to them. Some claim these songs originated in the taverns of the Saurian Union and merely were imbued with the weight of folklore. However, exiles liberated from the downside corroborated each other's claims at having met this duo that presided over the liberation rites. Another folktale suggests these minstrels were heralds from the scribes. Having fulfilled their obligations, they departed the world we know and rejoined their patrons. One of their famous songs describes another, simpler outcome, that the two gave up their duties to the rites in favor of a life that they could share together. In any case, they are likely to remain the subject of such verses and such songs, for it was they who watched over the rites and ushered in our times. Who's next? Do we listen to what happened to Bertrude? Possibly. Let us listen to the tale of Bertrude, and we can end with Hedwyn. Several exiles of the Nightwings cared more for the plan of Sandalwood than to return home from the downside. The crone called Big Bertrude was a prime example. She had found a suitable environment to live within the dismal region known as Flagging Hands. There, she had built up a thriving place of business known to many exiles in the land. With the rites having ended, she returned to her preoccupations, working away almost as though nothing had happened. When one gets to be more than 400 years of age, perhaps then even monumental events such as the culmination of the rites or the collapse of the Commonwealth are seen as trifling matters. Much of her effort was doubtless due to the influence of Sandalwood, someone whom she had admired now for decades. He had made clear that he could not requite her feelings for him, but what could have been a hurtful dismissal led only to deeper understanding between them. By and large, Bertrude kept focused on her work. Whether casting small enchantments or imbuing talismans, the work brought her a sense of purpose, as she would say. In the Commonwealth, such services were strictly forbidden, but in the downside there was a real need for simple luxuries, which the competing slug market could not always provide. Thus did Big Bertrude continue to live up to her name, and the tale of her days with the Nightwings made her that much more of a living legend. Let us listen to the tale of Sandra then, because you wanted. After the cycle of the rites ceased turning, records of what happened to the Black Wagon of the Nightwings became inconclusive and contradictory. Some accounts suggest that the exiles of the Nightwings who remained in the downside continued to make use of the Black Wagon as their place of shelter and their means of travel. However, there is no record of what happened to the wagon's contents, such as the Book of Rites or the Beyonder Crystal said to be haunted by the apparition Sandra the Unseeing. One possibility is that when the Lone Minstrel took his leave, he took the Beyonder Crystal with him, for he was thus obliged. By this line of reasoning, however, the Black Wagon itself should have been taken also. Others remain skeptical that the Beyonder Crystal even existed, or rather, that the visions that it granted were anything other than the result of an active imagination or a fever dream. The bog dwellers of the southern bogs offer still another explanation, for they are familiar with binding enchantments. If there existed such an object in which the Sister of the Arch had been expelled for more than 800 years, then the enchantment could have expired along with the light of the stars. What this would mean for Sandra and the Beyonders is difficult to say for certain, other than it may have meant that they were finally released. Nevertheless, the fate of Sandra and the Beyonder Crystal remain unknown. Yet, those exiles of the Nightwings who claim to have seen this apparition all spoke of her with degrees of reverence, or perhaps a little fear. I'm going to skip the other triumvirates. They all have their own stories to tell. Many of them involve them trying to seek the glory that they failed to gain. But let us end with that story. Actually, I think we have to go through all of them. I'm not sure. Let us leave Headwind for last, and let's just go through these very quickly, because it seems that I was thinking that I might be able to skip this, but let's just, go through these guys here and then end on Headwind, since Headwind was one of the first that we met. Once it became clear to Ignarius that the rites were drawing to a close, he knew that it was time for him and the Tempers to call it quits. But first, he and the Tempers decided to celebrate, and that they did, for many, many nights. The revelry did eventually subside, the exiles parted amicably, and went their separate ways. He roamed the downside then, searching for some meaning in his life, sometimes taking odd jobs requiring his brute strength. He never remained alone for very long, and took on many lovers in his time. However, he sometimes thought about the one he had called Curlyhorns, and what became of her. Though his glory days as the most powerful conductor of the rites had long since passed, he always enjoyed the fearsome reputation he had cultivated at the time. Luckily, these are very short ones. When manly Tinderstolf realized the rites had ended and that he no longer could return to the Commonwealth through his ancient means, he was outraged. He cursed the scribes, spewing forth such a slew of blasphemy as to be very unbecoming of one of his high status and bearing. When at last he calmed himself, he focused all his energies on attempting to find another means of homecoming. He maintained regular contact with his wealthy family on the other side via Messenger Imp, and used their vast resources to explore other means of escape. He tried using an elaborate pulley system. He attempted to retrofit a flying black wagon with superior propulsion. He tried an imp raft, a hot air balloon, even prayer. Nothing worked. There was only one way to escape the downside, and now it was gone. Tinderstolf bankrupted his family in these vain attempts. At last, such was his shame, that he retreated to the teeming woods of Black Basin to Cinderroot. There, he yet wallows, complaining to his comrades of the chastity, who still put up with him, either about his own misfortune or the latest news from the other side. And we have Tamitha. Throughout her exile, Tamitha Thane was motivated by a single goal, to return to the Commonwealth and enact vengeance on her ancient enemies. When she realized the rites had ended, and that she would never see her mountain home again, she nonetheless remained determined to aid her people however possible. She had gathered certain information pertaining to the intentions of the Nightwings, who had formed a pact to regroup on the other side after their liberation. Other such reports exposed certain weaknesses in the Commonwealth's defenses, and revealed to the Highwing remnants the opportunity for a risky but potentially impactful strike. As Tamitha could not participate in the assault, she learned what happened well after the outcome. On the night known as Scribe's Return, the Commonwealth had fallen, the Highwing remnants thus prevailed at last without even having to fight. Soon after the fall of Commonwealth, Tamitha learned her blood sister Pamitha was an accessory to the successful outcome. Tamitha was very skeptical of this, but as similar reports kept mounting, she soon accepted the prevailing opinion, however grudgingly. Once a messenger imp arrived bearing some sort of message seemingly from Pamitha. However, Tamitha turned it away. She would not give in to an impulse to forgive. Knowing that the conflict on the other side had ended, Tamitha retreated to the crags of the Black Basin and grew ever more distant. Those closest to her surmised that her inability to reconcile with her blood sister was at the heart of this, though for her part, Tamitha never once admitted to any such weakness. Let's leave the dissidents last of these guys. After all, the dissidents are the most awesome of the triumvirates apart from the Nightwings. After the cycle of the rites has ceased, Witch Udmilde returned to the Flagging Hands region, where she sealed herself within the Pit of Melith. There, even her fellow exiles of the Withdrawn allegedly grew unnerved after a time, and left her to her vile work. Sometime later, the Pit of Melith erupted into flame. So intense was the conflagration that it could be seen all the way from Jomer Valley. Arson was suspected, though the cause was never verified, and many bog dwellers in the region were forced to flee. A tempest blowing from the north finally quenched the flames. When at last the ashes settled, the grounds had cooled, the site of the fire was scarred beyond recognition. No trace of Witch Udmilde could be found. As for the contents of Pit of Melith, which notably included a profane object thought to be the remains of Islak, all of it was gone as well. Back in the Saurian Union, Udmilde's repeated threats of the return of Islak were thoroughly investigated, and no credence was found to any of her claims. Let us see what Lendl did. After the final liberation rites, Lendl refused to believe that the rites had truly ended. He would sit throughout the night, night after consecutive nights, staring into the blackness of the sky, awaiting any kind of sign that he might gain another chance at freedom. No such sign ever came. His fellow accusers started to express concern for him. Survival had become their top priority once liberty had slipped from their grasp. But Lendl dismissed them as weak fools. He insisted rather forcefully that any evening now the stars would shine for him again and mark the way toward his inevitable freedom. He was, of course, mistaken. The others in this triumvirate were left with little choice but to abandon him. After that, the exile known as Lendl the Liar was never seen again. However, there have since been sightings of a bedraggled demon who wanders the downside and bears Lendl's cruel countenance, suggesting he yet lives. All his life, Sir Deluge had fled from one danger only to find himself facing another. He had escaped the war-torn waters of the Sea Dominion. He had escaped the blood border of the Commonwealth. And now he had escaped the rites. After the rites had ended, many exiles wrapped up in the ancient test were crestfallen, as their last chances to return to their homes vanished, along with the stars above. But Deluge did not mind, for this outcome meant that at last there was no burden of responsibility weighing down on him. While most of his fellow exiles of the Pyre Hearts yet longed for the waters of the Sea Dominion, driven as ever by their impulses toward conflict, Deluge settled down. With him remained one of his companions, one Lady Seagrass, who had taken a liking to him for some reason. Reportedly, they disappeared into the waters of the Worm Gulf, which may begin to explain the significant increase in worm population observed in the vicinity. As the cycle of the rites drew to a close, it grew evident that a chance at freedom for the downside had forever slipped from Dalbert and Ulmer Oldheart's grasp. Thus, they and the exiles of Fate returned to Jomer Valley. There they struggled to get by, as exiles of the downside tend to do. Sometime after the rites had ended, Old Hearts at last heard the news of that the Commonwealth had fallen. This was well after the fact, of course, but it brought old Dalbert great joy. Despite his forthright manner, he had no love for the nation that cast him down, along with his son. Dalbert Oldheart passed peacefully in his sleep before the next new moon. In his final days, he implored his son to undertake a pilgrimage to the scribes. Ulmer never shared his father's view of the scribes, but respected Dalbert's wishes, and so, after a period of mourning, Ulmer began a new journey. One day, during his travels, he ran almost headlong into another exile, after paying homage at the Spring of Jomer. He was stunned to find that this was none other than the one he knew as Xei, from their days as adversaries in the rites. Xei was overjoyed to see him, though Ulmer was unable to bring himself to understand why. Eventually, of course, he did, and they remained together, growing ever more accustomed to their new lives in the downside. Not a day went by that Ulmer Oldheart did not think about his father, and give thanks to him, and speak to him, at morning and at night. Would that the stars yet shone, for surely Dalbert would be there among them, smiling down at his son, and watching over him and his kin. And then, of course, Barker Ashpaws never had much interest in returning to the Commonwealth, for he always found its bylaws to be stifling, so when the rites ended, he did not care at first. He soon grew very bored. The rites had given his life a certain sense of structure he had always needed. He missed the raw anticipation of it all. He decided to continue conducting the rites for the thrill of it. He bent some of the rules and replaced some of the objects, but it was close enough. His packmates, the dissidents, proved more than happy to participate, and thus they ran against each other in the Jomer Valley. Gradually, other exiles familiar with the rites, as well as those who had not heard of it at all, started to take an interest. They ended up giving Barker Ashpaws some healthy competition. His old feud with Rookie Greentail ceased meaning anything to him, and he forgot all about it amidst his new pursuits. Ultimately, even Barker Ashpaws, who had led such a directionless existence to that point, found something of a calling through the rites. Whether he took the rites less seriously than any other exile of his time, or more, was often debated by those who watched him work. And then, Hedwyn. After his liberation, Hedwyn was instrumental in the events leading to the fall of Commonwealth, and was vital to the outcome of the plan. The peaceful outcome of the scribe's return was attributed to several key factors. One of them was the underlying ambition of the plan itself. Another was Hedwyn's visibility among the people in the streets. Identified to be a liberated exile, he was believed to be Gol Golanthanian reborn. More importantly, however, was that one of the winged harps of the Highwing remnants accompanied him. He was later identified as Fikani Shang. Their bond was symbolic of what was at stake that night, and proved vital to the peace that followed. In all his days as a leader of the Saurian Union, Hedwyn oft confided in his friend Jodariel. Despite her intense manner, There was no one whom he trusted more in times when circumspection was required. Edwin would often think about the vow he made at the beginning of his quest for freedom. Although he cherished all the friendships he made, he had pledged to Jodariel, Rookie, and the Rita of the Nightwings that they might all be free again, together. He had broken that vow, for in the end, not all of them were able to return. A terrible guilt over this darkened his mood for a time. However, the others whom he still knew lifted his spirits, much like he had often lifted theirs. All of the Nightwings knew the stakes. While the others who stood with the Nightwings were not all able to remain in contact thus, Hedwyn thought of each of them often, and so, in turn, did they oft think of him. There is one more account which warrants mention. The Nightwings conducted the rites under the guidance of Arida. Little is known of him. However, some accounts of him begin to paint a picture. We know he was of common birth, weak-framed, though raised with a penchant for learning. The journey to the downside left him close to death. It was then that the Nightwings found him. They brought him from the brink. He showed them the path. He pressed onward with the others. He made a vow to help his friends be free. Thus did the cycle of the rites commence its final turns. By the time the final rite arrived, the Rita knew he could not go free. In the end, like so many others, he remained an exile. From that point on, accounts of him diverge. It is said the voice which troubled him he never heard again. Some say he helped improve the lives of other downside exiles. Though whether that is true, only he knows. Someday perhaps that Rita's own star shall emerge. Then it shall pierce the dark of night in all of its brilliant glory. Until such time, and ever after, all of us give thanks.
Their journey began on a barren waste where the reader arrived, afraid and alone. When he arrived, the book of rites awakened the Nightwings and ignited the flame. They follow the stars, bound together, strands in our brain till the end. We sing of the last of the Nightwings who, having broken the cycle, shall live on in song. Hedwyn prevailed and strode the path that his heart laid before him. He has found his way home. Captain Joe Dariel, mother to many a foundling, she has found her way home. Rookie Greentail has proved his worth and returned to his family by the grace of the scribe.
touched girl feels the scribes in the heart of the downside. She remained to the end.
Tizo prevailed, first of his lowly kind, to ascend from the downside. He has found a new home. Sir Gilman the Bold, ever in his quest, finding honor and glory, he has found his way home. Paramith the Thane, having pleased the scribe, seeking only forgiveness, she has found her way home. They follow the stars bound together, strands in a braid till the end. Bound together, spirits tender, strands unbroken, strands unbroken. The great mastermind, Wolfred Sandalwood, saw his plans turn to action. He remained till the end. The bog dweller Bertrude kept their foes at bay with her finest enchantments. She remained till the end. The reader at last made the night wings whole, having bound them together. He remained till the end. They follow the stars bound together, strands in a braid till the end. They follow the stars bound together, strands in a braid till the end. Now at the end, as we bid farewell and return to the stars, we shall find our way home. We shall find our way home. We shall find our way home.
So that is the end of Pyre. We got one of the better endings, as in we got the bloodless revolution ending. Sadly, we ourselves did not go free. However, the Saurian Union was created so that no other would have to be cast down into the exile, and thus, ultimately, should the rites even begin anew, they would be quite pointless for as long as the people of the Saurian Union stay and keep to their values. They shall not exile anyone else, and thus the downside shall go empty. So, hopefully I did a satisfactory job of conveying to you this story of this wonderful game, which I do believe is the strongest of Supergiant's work. Bastion and Transistor both had good stories, but I don't think neither of them quite stands to this.